So let's talk about this big story out of Ukraine this morning. So there's a lot of parts to this story, and I kind of want to let's collate them for the audience a little bit here. First of all, this chunk of it, which is why in the world are armed Americans already in the Ukraine, in the trenches of eastern Ukraine, like on the front lines there? I thought, wait a minute, we're talking about maybe deploying American soldiers to this region, right? We're hearing President Biden says 8,500 soldiers are at the ready to go. So then why this morning are we finding out that there are already Americans operating in the trenches of eastern Ukraine? Specifically, these soldiers, I mean, we learned about this too, amazingly, from their like posts on social media. Like they're like, we're here training. What's going on? We're in this region. Others are, here's a Instagram story from one of the soldiers. I'm beginning to think you aren't in Paris. Like as people are responding, here we are. We're in eastern Ukraine as American soldiers. Now, if you start to dig into this group is the Forward Operations Group, which appears to be basically an uncontrollable, non-military, but basically military
contractors. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they're like party planners where they go in and get ready for war.
Right. They're like, hey, we're already here training people. So they can, and this is how the United States can get away with this, right? This is how we can get away with this. Hey, they're not actually part of the military. They're just military contractors. So they're here already training soldiers. They're already here doing ground.
This was a Trump era thing where this was in a thing where he launched a shadow government or a shadow military, basically, that is not like they're not accountable to Congress. They have no accountability whatsoever. So they are basically not under our control and can do basically whatever they want. So who in the heck is controlling them? But they're in there representing the United States.
And paid for by taxpayer dollars without any congressional approval.
Right.
We can send them there whenever we want because we don't, as taxpayers, approve every government contract.
Which also means that's probably outside of the military budget of 700 and some odd billion that we gave them.
Yes. And probably, there's no really usury rate on that. So by most accounts, when the government uses these contractors, they pay them handsomely.
I mean, they're in these trenches there, right where the 53rd Separate Mechanized Brigade is in the Ukrainian ground forces. So they're there. And frankly, I mean, it's amazing that one of the only ways we even learned about this is because they were just posting on Instagram. Like they were posting on Instagram their coordinates, basically. Hey, see if you can figure out where I am. Here's a watch.
I have that same watch.
Yeah, here's where I am. Here's my latitude and longitude. Can you figure it out? Well, it doesn't take much to figure out what that is. Yeah, let's figure it out. Where exactly are you? Oh, you're in eastern Ukraine. Okay. Wow. You're right along the border. So, yeah,
this is not a game. That's not funny. I don't appreciate the spirit of that at all.
Where am I?
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of these people who go big game hunting and have pictures holding dead giraffes that they shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, here's a rhino. There's only 5 of them left, and I killed one of them.
Yeah. That's like you're just bragging. It's like just an ego thing.
There's another big piece of this story, though, that I want to get to, and it's amazing how we know over the past few weeks how the White House has been encouraging media organizations to censor certain viewpoints that they don't like. They've also been on the phone calling different media organizations, telling them their narrative. Like, the White House has been making phone calls, making these things known. This is what we want you to spit out there. You guys are regurgitating what we say. And so yesterday, it was heard that the United States had a phone call meeting with President Zelensky of Ukraine. And during that phone call, according to reporting from CNN, Matthew Chance reporting, inside of that room, people who were witness to the phone call said it was very contentious, and that the President of the United States specifically said brace for impact, that an invasion is imminent from Russia.
Yes.
So this is the reporting from CNN. Now, interestingly, this was taken down. So this tweet from Jake Tapper with the video of Matthew Chance in this interview was deleted.
Well, it was a tweet actually from a reporter. Jake Tapper hosted the segment where they spoke to the reporter who was briefed on the call, right? And then it was subsequently removed from CNN, and a White House official said, you're lying. This didn't happen. We have always said that we are concerned about this. We continue to be concerned. These were not the president's words. But the CNN reporter reported that it happened.
Yeah, let's play that. Here's what the CNN reporter, Matthew Chance, who's a great reporter, Jake Tapper interviewing him, and Jake specifically asks him, like, who said this? And he's like, my sources who were in the room listening to the phone call. This is Matthew. So this is Jake Tapper tweets this video with his interview with Matthew Chance and then later deletes this video. CNN, after a phone call apparently from the White House, deletes this reporting. Anyway, let's play this sound.
We have breaking news for you in our world lead. A senior Ukrainian official tells CNN that today's phone call between President Biden and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, quote, did not go well. Our source tells CNN that the two disagreed about the immediacy of the threat of a Russian attack on Ukraine. The White House and Pentagon have been emphatic that they believe an attack could be imminent. We should note the White House just released its own readout of that call, and there was no mention of President Biden's warnings or the two presidents' disagreements. The White House did say Biden underscored America's commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty. CNN's Matthew Chance joins us now live from Kiev, Ukraine with more. Matthew, what more are you learning about this disagreement on the Biden-Zelensky call? How heated did it get?
I'm not sure I could characterize how heated it got, but there was definitely a disagreement about the sort of level of risk that the country is facing when it comes to a Russian invasion. On the one hand, you've got President Biden. This is according to an official who briefed me on the conversation that was had on the telephone call this evening. On the one hand, President Biden saying the threat is imminent. I mean, we've heard this before. The Ukrainians pushing back on that, saying that the threat, according to their intelligence analysts, is a bit more ambiguous than that, and it's possible that there won't be an invasion, whereas President Biden apparently telling his Ukrainian counterpart that an invasion was virtually certain later on in February when the ground becomes more frozen in this country. He went on to say that he warned the Ukrainian leader that the capital, Kiev, this city here, could be sacked. And that's the word he apparently used, according to this Ukrainian official, sacked by Russian forces, who he said may attempt to occupy it. There was also some quite bad news delivered, although expected news, I think, delivered by the US president to the Ukrainian side. President Biden, according to this official who briefed me on the conversation, saying that he told the Ukrainian leader that Ukraine would not be getting significantly more military help, that there would be no US troops sent to Ukraine to defend it. We already knew that, of course, but it was reiterated again on this phone call. Also, no sophisticated weapons, further sophisticated weapons delivered to Ukraine.
So that then was deleted. So that tweet specifically was deleted. The one from Jake Tapper, it was taken down off of Jake Tapper's feed. CNN removed it, and it was then recaptured. Jack Polosobayek over at I forget the name of the website, humanelements.com. I forget the name of his site. Anyway, he then managed to pull this down and managed to save this video. But this just goes to show you, like, once the White House makes a phone call, it actually gets on the phone. Right? I mean, they call. The White House says, no, that CNN report on Russia, that invasion is just completely false.
That happens all the time. It's like, like that's why. When are we going to realize that we are not getting news, we're getting propaganda? And when they try to do actual journalism and actual news and cover stories that don't fit the narrative,
right,
then they just take it down.
And then you have a White House spokesperson who comes out and says, no, this CNN reporting is completely false. Like, this is not. So now
Fake
there's a move today. There's now a move today to have them release this transcript. Release the transcript. We need to know what was said specifically on that call. There should be an actual transcript of this, right? That's exactly. Any White House phone call, there's a transcript of it. Emily Horn, though, tweets out earlier, who's a State Department spokesperson, says that's not true. President Biden said that there is a distinct possibility that the Russians could invade Ukraine in February. He's previously said this publicly, and we've been warning about this for months. Reports of anything more or different than that are completely false, she said. Okay, so then CNN just removes it. Even though Matthew Chance is a reporter, and he has his own reporting from inside where that phone call was taking place. Hey, this is the White House. I know it's a little inconvenient that you did your own reporting on this. We want to tell you, though, what to say. we're gonna tell you exactly how to frame this story, because we didn't really appreciate the way in which you went on television and talked about it. Pretty amazing. And then on the other side of this is more reporting this morning, specifically from the Associated Press, and the U.S. tries to name and shame Russian disinformation on Ukraine. I mean, this again. What do you believe at this point? I mean, at the end of the day, what member of the White House or what administration are you paying attention to? According to the AP, in a break from the past, the U.S. and its allies are increasingly revealing their intelligence findings as they confront Russian preparations for invading Ukraine, looking to undercut Russian President Vladimir Putin's plans by exposing them and deflecting his efforts to shape world opinion. Now, Russia this morning is saying, we have no intention of invading. That's what Russia's saying. We have no intention of invading. None at all. But why are they amassing troops along the border? What specifically are they doing? Why are they amassing these troops?
They're following our game playbook. It's like we form all this stuff and then we do the same exact thing, but they can't do it. Nobody else can do it but us.
Right. Yeah. Is there more you wanted to say on this story?
I had plenty to say on this story. Give me a second to collect my thoughts. I'm sorry. I ran out for a second. Did you cover? Oh, yes, you did.
What's on the screen for
the
you?
Disinformation campaign. This is specifically perplexing because it's not the way that these things normally go down. So opening up classified information and trying to frame the narrative. Obviously, anytime the government's trying to frame the narrative, and now news organizations follow lockstep, you have to wonder what are we not supposed to be seeing here?
Right. Well, I mean, when you have the White House coming out saying, this is completely false, and when the White House is basically saying, hey, I don't know what kind of reporting you have from inside, but we have a different take on that. And now, again, there's this push now for this release the transcript. Like we want to know, just release the transcript. That'll answer any questions we have, right? We want to know that.
They'll say, we'll release that in 2055.
Right.
Right.
I mean, if it's easy to prove, right? Either it went this way or it did not. I think what they're trying to make us think is that the White House doesn't really want a war, when their actions are actually to the contrary.
Yeah. So again, keeping our eye on what happens. The president saying, invasion likely by February. American soldiers are already there doing training. They're already there, even though they're not technically. They're on the taxpayer payroll, but they're not technically part of this 8,500 troop deployment from the 82nd Airborne Division, which is ready to launch in there. So we'll keep our eye on that story.